Hello, this is the secret to self-education. Now, when I started this YouTube channel 7 years ago or something like that, my main topic was creating stuff around self-education, this modular degree, or at the time I called it the DIY degree. And I have not really made much in the way of self-education content since then, because I moved on from the modular degree being kind of this knowledge management process for learning and focusing more on the holistic system of the PIOS. But I wanted to make this video today, almost an episode, but because the secret to self-education is a few different things kind of combined together. Now, if you are learning by yourself, let alone learning online, there are certain methodologies that you can learn, and I'll kind of ramble over them today. I've talked more about them in detail in those older videos, and I probably will more so in the future with more content around the modular degree. However, I really wanted to get into what actually gets you going with self-education and really is the kind of differentiating factor between you and someone else who's just starting out. So the first and foremost, you have to have a foundation, right? You need to know how to learn. And so the first kind of step is learning how to learn. And when I made my self-education mini course, this is what actually was like the first couple modules was about, where it's like, okay, you have to learn how to actually consume information at a normal rate and actually try to like process it. But more importantly than that, especially since you're doing it by yourself, you have no limitations. So you want to learn how to speed read and also watch videos at a faster pace. So instead of me talking like this, I'm talking more like this, and you can hear it very fast, and you can actually hear all the little words, and you can change how you consume that information. Right now, I'm speaking pretty slowly. If I was watching my own video, I would be dying right now because I'm so used to watching videos at a higher speed. Even videos for enjoyment, a lot of the time I watch at like 1.8x speed. If I'm watching an educational one like this, usually around 2.5x speed. That's actually what I do for podcasts as well. Now, it takes time, but like the secret to it is just like with any skill, is that it takes time and you have to just subtly increase it over time. So, I started off at 1.25x, which is like the next speed up on YouTube. It took a long time, maybe like 6 months before I really got used to doing like 1.5. And then again, I think it gets a little bit slower each time. You don't have to wait as long. Like most skills take longer and longer and longer and longer before you get to the like top. But with speed listening, as long as you're paying attention, it doesn't take as long. It takes a while to get used to it. Then it takes a little less time to get used to the next speed, a little less time to get used to the next speed, and a little less time to get used to the next speed. And eventually you'll get upwards of like 2x, and it's a lot faster. And it just makes things, the point is, like, if you take a 30-hour course and do it at 2x speed, that's 15 hours you just saved. Now, that doesn't really include like the quizzes and like interactive things you might have to do for an edX course or something like that. But most of those courses are literally just videos. If you speed up the videos, it makes a hell of a difference. I just got a new job recently where I had to do like onboarding training. And the person said, yeah, it's supposed to take like 4 hours. Here you go. I got it done in 3. And honestly, it would have been faster had I been able to like actually focus on it and hear most of the stuff and not have to deal with people around me. So like that's the fact that like I got it done the whole hour sooner was a pretty big deal. And so this idea that you are able to consume content at a higher speed, same with speed reading, either doing it in chunks or doing it one word at a time. If you're using a tool, there's a couple different kinds of speed reading, but even knowing that there's 2 different kinds is kind of a big deal. And then there's other things when it comes to education. So you have to learn definement technique, being able to break something down smaller and smaller and explain things simply. And understanding that interleaving might be a much better option for you than serialized approach. Interleaving is kind of like juggling, and then serialized is one after the other. And I talked about this actually with the polymathy stuff that I talk about on this channel too. But really, in general, whether you're a generalist or a specialist, the interleaving method is actually pretty helpful. You'll be able to pull from many different areas and even just keep your attention going for longer. So it's kind of like when I was a lifeguard, you had 3 different zones in the pool and you had to be going to all 3 of them. But you're not just staying on one stand for an hour and a half, you're going on each stand for 30 minutes, and it allows your brain to stay focused for longer. Because if you get past that 30-minute mark, your brain starts to get used to that environment and you start to kind of get more complacent. And as a lifeguard, you can't be complacent. And so like you can try to work hard on being focused, but it's just one of those things where it becomes a lot harder that way. But by switching zones, your brain sees, oh, this is a new environment. Even though it's the same pool, it's a new environment. Let's restart our focus meter, if you will. So things like that, or the Pomodoro method, and all these different kind of methodologies you can do. Those are a great changer when it comes to how you create your own self-education system. And then I created the modular degree using Notion or Obsidian. Actually, I kind of think Obsidian's a lot better for it. Between the web clipper or the read it later plugin in Obsidian, you can capture anything you find online and then embed it into your Obsidian vault. And so including videos, courses probably won't work as much, but you can at least have a link to the course. And then having all the articles saved on your computer, and then they can start linking together. So you have 50 articles about AI, they can all kind of link together, and you can actually kind of go down a rabbit hole in your own system, which is kind of crazy. So things like that. Notion was kind of great because then it's all online, it's cross-platform, and I was able to build a really nice database out of it. But I find that like the actual acquisition of data is a lot better in Obsidian. So the secret to self-education really comes down to learning how to do it and then exploring how to do it better and spread it out. And you also got to think about, why are you learning, right? Do you just want to learn for the sake of learning, lifelong learning, just because you're curious? Cool. That's a very wide range there. So you can kind of take your time, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you're learning for a particular skill and you want to try to be known for that and make it into your career, it may not be best to do like a boot camp method, because the boot camp is about a month long, if you will, maybe 2 weeks to 6 weeks, something like that. And so you're doing a boot camp for a very short sprint, and you're trying to get that skill as quickly as possible. Cool. That's those are two different ends of the spectrum. When I created my modular degree, I was kind of in the middle, right? I wanted to create a degree. I wanted to basically replace college, and that's what I did. And so that's a lot more in the years kind of length, instead of being just 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or my whole life. It's like 3 years, something like that. And I think that those three kind of mindsets are the baseline of how you pursue your self-education. And there's no if this or that. You can do all three, right? You can even do sprints within your degree, and then you can do multiple degrees within your lifelong learning, or multiple sprints in your lifelong learning. So maybe you could skip the degree altogether and just focus on lifelong learning, and every year you do a new sprint, right? There's so many different combinations. And I don't think I've ever talked about that probably actually at this point. And I always see it as modular. That's the whole point of the modular degree, is to be able to change based on what you want or what you need, more importantly. And so that's what the secret is being able to adapt. Most traditional colleges and universities don't allow you to adapt. And that has been the major factor of why they're failing now, especially since we need to gain new skills more rapidly now. I'm actually kind of seeing it even more so with the rise of AI and all these content repurposing tools, and even just XR and AR. All these technologies are rapidly changing so fast that even as a techie myself, I would go down rabbit holes quite often. Even I have to kind of work a little bit harder to keep up with some of the changes. I noticed over this past year, I've been focusing on my jobs and my content, that I didn't pay as much attention to AI tools as I did last year. And man, did I get behind a couple times this year. Luckily, there's people like Matt Wolf or Bot Zero where you can actually follow them and learn some of the new stuff that's coming out. It is interesting how even at the forefront of it, it's hard to keep up. And then for everyone else who's not paying attention at all, it can be really hard to keep up with what actually is out there. The fact that you can sit there and talk to AI now, or even just have a text conversation with it, and the things they can give it back to you, searching the internet for you, these small tweaks that are making big differences in how you interact with the AI and actually get anything out of it. And even like Notebook LM, where you can actually have your own podcast of AI and then talk to your podcast of AI. It's insane, the changes. And in order to be a good learner, you need to be able to keep up with those changes. And so part of that skill, like I was mentioning earlier, being able to actually have a system that's modifiable enough to change with the changes, but also being able to be that person that's focusing long enough and deep enough to actually absorb the information and knowledge. So these two together, that's what I consider to be the secret to self-education. So being able to, first off, actually learn fast and have the skills of learning, but also being able to keep up and have a system that's organized and everything together. Those are the major factors. Even if you don't use my modular degree, using something to help you organize it, like not just some Google Doc, have an actual robust system that can be modified and keep track and group things together. That's the difference between Google Sheets and like Airtable. You're able to group things together. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling here, but I wanted to share this video with you all. Thank you.